You're more comfortable suffering than you are laughing without reason, more familiar with heaviness than joy, more practiced at surviving than living, and somewhere along the way you learn that levity is dangerous, that playfulness gets punished, that letting your guard down means something bad will happen. So you stay tense, stay serious, stay in pain because pain is predictable, and lightness feels like standing at the edge of a cliff where one wrong move could send you falling into vulnerability you've spent years protecting yourself from. Like you're forgetting something crucial, like you're walking into a trap you should have seen coming. You don't know how to play anymore. Don't remember what it feels like to do something just because it brings joy, instead of because it's productive or useful or necessary. You can't be silly without immediately feeling embarrassed, exposed, like you've revealed something shameful about yourself that people will use against you. You can't laugh too loud or too long without cutting yourself off, without monitoring whether you're being too much, whether people are annoyed, whether you're allowed to take up this much space with your happiness. You watch children play and you feel nothing. Or worse, you feel irritated by their noise and their mess and their complete lack of self-consciousness, irritated because they're allowed to be something you weren't allowed to be careless and joyful and fully present in the moment, while you were learning to be careful and vigilant and always thinking 3 steps ahead. You've turned everything into work. Even your hobbies feel like obligations. Even your rest feels like a task you need to complete efficiently. Even your relationships feel like performances where you're constantly calculating whether you're doing it right, whether you're being too much or not enough, whether you're allowed to just be without justifying your existence through productivity or usefulness or emotional labor. You feel guilty when you're happy, like you're forgetting about all the people who are suffering. Like you don't deserve joy when there's so much wrong in the world. Like happiness is irresponsible or selfish or proof that you're not taking life seriously enough. This fear of lightness didn't start with you. It started when being light got you hurt, when showing joy got you mocked or punished, or made you a target, when being carefree meant being vulnerable, and being vulnerable meant being destroyed by someone who should have protected you but didn't. Maybe you were excited about something, and a parent crushed your enthusiasm with criticism or indifference, taught you that showing joy just sets you up for disappointment. Maybe you were playful and got told to be serious, to grow up, to stop acting like a child when you literally were a child who should have been allowed to act like one. Maybe you lived in chaos where letting your guard down meant missing the signs of incoming danger, meant being unprepared for the next crisis, meant survival required constant vigilance and joy was a luxury you couldn't afford. Maybe you learned that happiness made you a target, that other people resented your light and would actively try to dim it, so you learned to dim it yourself before they could. Learn to be small and serious and heavy so that you wouldn't threaten anyone, wouldn't stand out, wouldn't give them a reason to hurt you. Your nervous system adapted to an environment where lightness was dangerous and heaviness was safety, where pain was predictable and joy was a precursor to punishment. And now, even though the environment has changed, even though you're not in that situation anymore, your body still believes that staying heavy keeps you safe, that letting go means something terrible will happen, that the moment you relax is the moment everything falls apart. Here's the truth that will shake your foundation. You're not afraid of lightness because there's something wrong with lightness. You're afraid of lightness because your nervous system associates it with the pain that followed it, with the punishment you received for daring to be joyful, with the vulnerability that got exploited when you let your guard down. And until you can separate the lightness itself from the trauma that followed it, until you can prove to your body that joy doesn't automatically lead to pain anymore, you'll keep choosing familiar suffering over unfamiliar peace, because suffering feels safer than hope, feels more controllable than surrender, feels like at least you know what you're dealing with instead of walking into unknown territory where you might get hurt in ways you can't predict. You've built your entire identity around being the serious one, the responsible one, the one who sees the world clearly without rose-colored glasses, and letting that go feels like losing yourself, like admitting you've been wrong, like becoming someone frivolous or naive or childish when you've worked so hard to be taken seriously, to be respected, to prove that you're not that vulnerable child anymore but a hardened adult who can't be hurt because they don't let anything in, don't let themselves feel anything too deeply. Don't let themselves want anything too much, because wanting leads to disappointment, and disappointment is just another word for the pain you've been trying to avoid by staying numb. You can start healing by first acknowledging that the child you were deserved to be light, deserved to play without fear, deserved to feel joy without punishment, and that child is still inside you waiting for permission to finally be what they never got to be. And giving yourself that permission now won't erase what happened then, but it will stop you from continuing to punish yourself for someone else is failure to protect your innocence. Do one genuinely pointless thing this week. Something that serves no purpose except that it might feel good, might make you smile, might connect you to a version of yourself that isn't constantly performing adulthood. Whether that's coloring, dancing badly to music in your living room, building something with your hands just to build it. Anything that your inner critic calls a waste of time, because waste of time is exactly what you need, is exactly what play is the opposite of the productivity addiction that's been slowly killing your capacity for spontaneous joy. Notice when you're about to criticize someone for being too happy, too silly, too much, and recognize that impulse as your wounded self trying to make the world as heavy as you feel, so you don't have to sit with the envy of watching others have what you don't let yourself have. Practice micro moments of lightness. Let yourself laugh fully at something funny without cutting it short. Let yourself get excited about something small without immediately tempering it with pessimism. Let yourself be enthusiastic without apologizing for it or making it smaller to protect other people's feelings. Tell your nervous system out loud, it's safe to be light now, it's safe to play now. Joy doesn't mean danger anymore. And repeat it every time the fear comes up because your body needs to hear it 1,000 times before it might believe it. Needs proof that lightness won't be followed by punishment, needs evidence that you can let your guard down and the world won't immediately destroy you. Levity scares you more than pain because pain is your home, is where you learn to live, is what made you who you are. And choosing lightness feels like betraying the child who survived by being serious, like dishonoring the struggle that got you here, like pretending that what happened didn't matter when it mattered more than anything. But that child didn't survive by being serious so they could spend the rest of their life being serious. They survived by being serious so that one day when it was finally safe they could stop, could rest, could play, could be the child they never got to be. And you are that one day. You are the safe space they were surviving toward. You are the adult who can finally give them permission to lay down the heaviness and pick up the lightness they were forced to abandon. And if nobody taught you how to be light, then you'll have to teach yourself, slowly, awkwardly, with all the discomfort of learning something new that your body thinks is dangerous, but the alternative is spending the rest of your life in familiar pain, in chosen heaviness, in self-imposed seriousness that protects you from nothing except joy, except spontaneity, except the full aliveness that comes from letting yourself be unguarded, from risking happiness, from daring to believe that maybe, just maybe, you're allowed to enjoy your life instead of just enduring it, and that work. The work of choosing lightness when everything in you wants to stay heavy, of choosing play when everything in you says be productive, of choosing joy when everything in you says prepare for pain. That's the hardest work there is. Harder than any suffering you've endured, because suffering you know how to do. But letting yourself be light, be free, be the person you might have been if life hadn't taught you otherwise. That requires a courage most people never have to access, and you have it somewhere beneath the armor, beneath the vigilance, beneath the fear that if you let go, you'll fall apart, when actually letting go is the only way you'll ever be whole.